Hey everybody, welcome to part 28 of our Let's Play Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance HD on PC, 100% full game playthrough. Last episode, even though I kept constantly referring to them as the special portals, what we actually did was the secret portals on our second critical mode playthrough. Well, not second critical mode playthrough, but our second playthrough that we did on critical mode. Upon completion of those secret portals, we obtained our final Keyblade for Sora and Riku, the Unbound, which is a pretty sick-looking frickin' Keyblade. But then again, most of the Keyblades in these games are pretty frickin' sick-looking. I mean, just the fact that you get to go around slapping the shit out of people with a giant key is pretty sick in itself, so... You kids are still using sick, right? Or are we stuck on, like, Fleek or On Point or all that garbage now? Anyway, now that we have completed the in-game report, also as a result of finishing off those secret portals, we're done. We have completed this game to 100%. So as I have done with every game thus far in the series, not including the watch-only ones, we're going to go ahead and go through the game and review our 100% complete report and our 100% game completion, inventory, and all that stuff. I'm not going to go through and read every character entry. I'm going to do the same thing I did with Kingdom Hearts Recom and Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. I will read the story entries, I will read anything I feel is important to read, maybe the glossary entries, but character files, I'm not going to dive too deep into reading like every word of the description. I'll just tell you who they are. You can look at the picture and I'll tell you, just like a one little sentence about them, maybe. Might just go over the character name and that's it. I'll decide when I get there. Completion rate we'll talk about a little bit. Game records, I'll just list them off. Dream Eaters. And anything pertaining to game records, Dream Eaters, is included in that Google Docs spreadsheet that I made up. So there will be a link to that in this episode in case you see anything here that I have that you're missing, if you are using this for a walkthrough as opposed to just watching for entertainment purposes. Yeah, okay. I mean, I think that's a satisfactory introduction. Let's go ahead and get into the game and do our review. Oh, we are in the final 5 episodes still. We have just this episode and one more, and then we can finally move on from Dream Drop. Okay, so, I mean, you saw it in the thumbnail anyway, but here's our report screen. I like this one as opposed to Rechain of Memories because, being able to... Oh yeah, spoilers for Rechain of Memories right this very second. So just, skip like 30 seconds ahead if you don't want to hear this. In Rechain of Memories, you couldn't have the reports together because the fact that you could play as Riku was supposed to be a big secret after you beat the game as Sora. Whereas in this game, we already know we're playing as both of them, so we got this cute little picture of them having each other's backs on the singular report for the game. So, nice little touch, I think. Okay, story. Now, this does show an entry from the final boss and the ending, so the reason it's in there is because I've already beaten the final boss off screen. But if you watched the first playthrough before watching this critical mode playthrough, you already know what happened anyway. So I will put a vocal reminder not to read the Mysterious Tower story if you haven't seen the end of the game at this point. Alright, Traverse Town, Sora side. Sora would require great power to rescue the individuals King Mickey mentioned in his letter and wake them from their sleep, so he agreed to take the Mark of Mastery examination. He and Riku returned to the Destiny Islands shortly before their fall. Okay. Okay, there it is. Alright, let's try that again. He and Riku return to the Destiny Islands shortly before their fall to darkness. After their raft was wrecked by a phantom Ursula, they unknowingly unlocked the first sleeping keyhole. Sora was... Okay, so this is, these 3-star things are kind of, like I don't know, like a break, maybe? Alright, so that's just separating the Destiny Islands thing from the Traverse Town. I guess I should have looked into this before I started this episode, but whatever. You can laugh at my screw-ups. I don't care. I laugh at my screw-ups too, so I won't get offended by anybody. Anyway, let's get back to it. Sora was separated from Riku and wound up in his first sleeping world, Traverse Town, where he met a boy named Neku. While helping Neku look for his game partner, Sora was confronted by a figure in a black coat. Wow, a figure in a black coat in a Kingdom Hearts game, that's never happened. Before he could find out who the stranger was, however, he was seized by the overwhelming urge to sleep. You know what? I feel that. I feel that because I too often find myself seized by an overwhelming urge to sleep. When Sora opened his eyes, neither Neku nor the figure in the black coat were anywhere to be seen. Instead of Neku, he found a girl named Rhyme. Rhyme had lost her memory, but Sora suspected she might be Neku's lost partner. Together, they continued the search for Neku. No sooner had Neku explained that Rhyme wasn't his partner than the girl vanished. Then, the figure in the black coat appeared just long enough to summon a powerful nightmare. Sora defeated the nightmare, and suddenly a strange projection appeared out of thin air. In it, Sora saw Riku. A boy named Joshua then appeared before Sora along with Rhyme. Joshua explained that Sora was looking at another version or imagining of Traverse Town, and that there was no way for him to get there. Neku, Shiki, Beat, and Rhyme vanished into the projection. This dual Traverse Town, Joshua explained, had appeared because it was needed. Neku and his friends were about to be wiped from existence, but in this world, the pieces of their dreams and the connections they formed had kept them in the game, literally. "Who are you?" Sora and Riku asked Joshua. "Let's say, a friend," was all the mysterious boy would say before flying off into the night sky. Alright, Traverse Town, Riku. Having welcomed darkness into his heart, was he still worthy of the Keyblade? Riku decided to take the Mark of Mastery examination and find out. He and Sora returned to the Destiny Islands shortly before their fall to darkness. After the raft was wrecked by a phantom Ursula, they unknowingly unlocked the first sleeping keyhole. Separated from Sora, Riku also found himself in his first sleeping world, Traverse Town, where he met Joshua. The boy's tone suggested he knew more about this world than most. Riku agreed to help Joshua find a girl named Rhyme, but another boy, Beat, came along and picked a fight with Joshua. No sooner had Riku defeated Beat's spirits than he found himself growing very sleepy. After waking up, he rescued a girl named Shiki from a pack of nightmares and found himself stuck with her, and boy did she torture that poor kid. Next, he encountered a figure in a black coat who insinuated that Riku did not belong there. Beat arrived, and the stranger lowered his hood to reveal a gray-haired youth Riku had never seen before. "Say it, Art!" The youth summoned a giant nightmare and vanished. Riku vanquished the nightmare, and suddenly a strange projection appeared out of thin air. In it, Riku saw Sora. Neku, Shiki, Beat, and Rhyme vanished into the projection. This dual Traverse Town, Joshua explained, had appeared because it was needed, so same as Sora's story, Neku and his friends were about to get wiped out. Alright. I'll try to avoid double reading the same paragraphs in the different stories for Sora and Riku. We'll just kind of summarize and gloss over it. Oops. Okay, so La Cité des Clochers, which I'm sure I've been butchering this whole Let's Play. Alright, for Sora, while investigating an outbreak of monsters in the square, Sora met Quasimodo. Nightmares had Quasimodo surrounded, but he was enjoying being the king of fools and was reluctant to leave. A gypsy named Esmeralda helped him get to safety in the cathedral. Inside Notre Dame, Quasimodo returned the favor and helped Esmeralda escape the soldiers surrounding the cathedral by carrying her safely to the streets below. Sora learned that Judge Frollo, who is a complete piece of shit even as far as Disney villains go, had forbidden Quasimodo from ever leaving the cathedral and grew concerned. He decided to seek out Quasimodo and talk to him about his predicament. While searching for Quasimodo, Sora ran into Captain Phoebus. Phoebus was beginning to harbor doubts about Frollo's methods, reasonably so, and had come to warn Esmeralda and the other gypsies that they were in danger. Upon hearing this, Quasimodo produced a pendant that he had received from Esmeralda. The pendant would reveal the location of the gypsies' safe haven known as the Court of Miracles. They found Esmeralda in the Court of Miracles, but Judge Frollo appeared, arrested Esmeralda, and knocked Sora out cold. Okay, that's crap. Frollo did not knock Sora out cold, Wargoyle did. Sora awoke to find the city ablaze. Esmeralda had been sentenced to burn, but Quasimodo rescued her while Sora confronted a giant nightmare. By the time the nightmare fell, Quasimodo had already settled matters with Judge Frollo. He had learned not to let his heart be a prison and was ready to brave the outside world. Alone, Sora found himself face to face with the gray-haired youth. The young man stayed only long enough to say, "You are the one who has made your heart a prison, even if you are not the prisoner." Confused by these words, I love Sora to death as a character, but let's be honest, he's confused by everything. Confused by these words, Sora unlocked the next sleeping keyhole. Alright, La Cité des Clochers for Riku. Riku crossed paths with Esmeralda, the gypsy who was being chased by Judge Frollo, asshole, and Captain Phoebus. She told Riku about the darkness that was driving Frollo. Inside the Cathedral of Notre Dame, Riku met Quasimodo. Judge Frollo was keeping Quasimodo walled up inside the cathedral, but Riku knew that the highest walls for Quasimodo and for himself were around their hearts. As Riku searched for Frollo, he was attacked by a giant nightmare. Somehow he escaped and caught up with Frollo, who seemed to be the one controlling the nightmares. He also found Phoebus, who was badly injured while trying to stop the judge. The chase continued. Riku passed Quasimodo, who had just rescued Esmeralda. Riku was reassured to see how much stronger Quasimodo's heart had grown. Frollo's heart, however, fell to darkness. Ansem and the gray-haired youth appeared a moment later to remind Riku of the darkness in his own heart. But Riku knew he was strong enough to choose his own path, and with Keyblade in hand, he drove off the giant nightmare. Quasimodo resolved to brave the outside world, while Riku reflected on his past and the future he must shape from it. He unlocked the sleeping keyhole. Okay, so for some odd reason this has Prankster's Paradise listed first, but we went to the grid first, so I'm going to read off the grid first. The grid for Sora. Sora was excited to be back in a familiar world, but that excitement was cut short when the blackguards tried to arrest him. Sora escaped but was ambushed by Rinzler, who mysteriously vanished without a fight. Flynn, Sam, and Korra watched all this unfold, intrigued. Korra approached Sora. As it turned out, Rinzler was really Sora's friend Tron, whose memory had been manipulated. Sora wanted to set Tron's memory straight, so Korra agreed to take him to Clue, who might still possess Tron's original source code. He's methodical, he'd keep it somewhere. While searching for the source code on the throne ship, Sora and Korra were attacked by Rinzler. Korra was overwhelmed, but before Sora could intervene, the throne ship hatch closed and she was left behind. I feel like that's supposed to say he was left behind, because Sora was the one that was left behind. Yeah, the gray-haired youth appeared along with Xemnas, who posed a difficult question. How could Sora be sure his memories and feelings were his to begin with? Then the gray-haired youth implied that this dream world was not a dream at all. Both vanished after saying their piece. Sora was taken to the stadium, where he came face to face with Clue and Rinzler. Clu offered to restore Tron's memory in exchange for the Keyblade, but Sora had to refuse, leading to a battle with Rinzler. Sora did not want to fight his friend, but when Korra arrived safe and sound and told him to use the Keyblade, he realized he might still be able to bring Tron to his senses. With Rinzler's defeat, Sora became distracted. Seeing his chance, Clu hurled his disc, but Rinzler pushed Sora out of harm's way right in the nick of time. The disc caused Rinzler's footing to de-res, and while he tried to grab for Sora's hand, he plunged into the abyss. Pretty sad scene, actually. Realizing some part of his friend inside Rinzler had reached for his hand, Sora struck upon the answer to Xemnas' question. We know we are real because our hearts lead us back to the truth. He unlocked the sleeping keyhole. Alright, the grid for Riku, which more closely follows the Tron Legacy movie. Yeah, Legacy Evolution was the game. Alright. Upon arrival, Riku found himself in the spotlight, or rather, searchlights. Realizing he may have more nemesis to deal with than just the nightmares, he decided to let himself be caught to find out more. In the process, he met Sam. But they were soon separated, and Riku was forced into a light cycle battle. He seized a chance to escape and reunited with Sam. Sam needed to get out of this world, and when he mentioned a portal, Riku decided to go along. They split up briefly so Sam could investigate a lead, but something went wrong, and he returned with company. Korra, who had malfunctioned, and his father, Flynn. They all continued to the portal. On the solar sailor that would take them there, Flynn repaired Korra. She was the last of a life form called an ISO. The emergence of the ISOs had caused Clu to seize control over the grid. No, Clu's insecurity caused Clu to seize control of the grid, trapping Flynn inside so he could never return home to the real world. Suddenly, the solar sailor's course was altered, and the group found themselves landing on the Rectifier, Clu's warship. When they disembarked, Rinzler was on patrol. Knowing they would not be able to just slip by, Korra intentionally let herself be caught so the others could escape. Riku and Sam saved Korra and recovered Flynn's missing disc. After catching up with Flynn, they all headed for the portal. Clu was waiting. He summoned a giant nightmare and attacked. Fuck Mantis. As Riku finished off the nightmare, Clu confronted Flynn. What was wrong with creating the perfect system? But Flynn explained that true perfection was unknowable, a fact that was lost on Clu because Flynn himself had not known at the time of Clu's creation. Clu seized Flynn's disc, but it was the wrong one. He had been tricked. Flynn's disc was in Korra's hands, and now Sam was using it to open the portal. It was time to say goodbye to his father for good. He raised the disc aloft, and he and Korra vanished into the light just as Flynn and Clu fused and ceased to exist. Riku reflected on the portal and the gates he himself had used to cross between worlds, realizing more trials were ahead. He unlocked the sleeping keyhole. Alright, let's remember to go back to Prankster's Paradise. Alright. Prankster's Paradise for Sora. Sora bumped into Jiminy at an amusement park after dark. Ooh, creepy. Jiminy said Pinocchio had gone missing somewhere in the park, and boys who played and goofed off there for too long got turned into jackasses. Sora agreed to help Jiminy find Pinocchio before that could happen. But by the time they rescued Pinocchio from some nightmares, he had sprouted donkey ears and a tail. Jiminy and Pinocchio escaped while Sora faced off against more nightmares. After eliminating the threat, Sora came face to face with the gray-haired youth and Xemnas, who accused Sora of being the same as the Nobodies. Once again, they vanished without further explanation. The Blue Fairy found Sora and told him that Pinocchio and Jiminy had gone to the bottom of the sea to rescue Geppetto, who had been swallowed by Monstro the Whale. Sora got there just in time to witness Pinocchio and Jiminy getting gobbled up too. Then a giant nightmare appeared and froze Monstro solid. Sora defeated the nightmare, and having been freed of the ice, Monstro let out a mighty sneeze. Remembering that this world would soon be swallowed by darkness, Sora unlocked the sleeping keyhole. Alright, so for Riku's side, inside the belly of Monstro the Whale, Riku found Geppetto and Jiminy. He agreed to help him find Pinocchio, who had gone missing again. Jiminy tagged along. They found Pinocchio with a figure in a black coat. Who was it this time? The figure lowered his hood to reveal Riku. The figure disappeared before Riku could make sense of it all. He explained to Jiminy how he had once allowed darkness into his heart, but Jiminy and Pinocchio reminded him that friends like Sora would always keep him on the right path. He had the others return to safety and headed further into Monstro, where he found and defeated a giant nightmare. Something had been troubling him, though. Why did this world seem to have been thrown into the past? Could it still be trapped in some kind of dream? He unlocked the sleeping keyhole. Alright, so then we went back to Traverse Town for a brief little interlude. So Traverse Town revisited. Back in Traverse Town, Sora bumped into a familiar face. Joshua told him that Neku had found his partner, but they still hadn't made it back to their own world. To get there, they would need help completing a mission. Sora raced to the rescue. He found Neku and Shiki surrounded by nightmares and convinced them to let him help, but it was no use. Once defeated, the nightmares' leader simply escaped to the other version of Traverse Town. Joshua returned and suggested they work with Riku and their friends in the other Traverse Town to trap the nightmare and take it down. Sora and his friends were ready when the nightmare resurfaced in their side of the town, but this time it escaped to another world entirely, somewhere not even Joshua could reach. Discouraged, Neku and Shiki realized that they had failed the mission, but Sora cheered them up by offering to take over where they had left off. After they all pledged to meet again one day, Sora unlocked the sleeping keyhole. Meanwhile, in another world, Axel was dreaming. Okay, so they're going to cover quite a few of the interlude cutscenes right here. Meanwhile, in another world, Axel was dreaming of his best friend, Roxas, and a promise he had made. Lee woke up and looked at himself in the mirror. He was a real person again. There were only 4 others there in the Radiant Garden study: Dylan, Alias, Evan, and Ienzo. So Zaldan, Lexius, Vexen, and Zexion. Lee wondered what had become of Braig and Isa, Zigbar and Syx. But a thorough search of the castle and environs turned up no other returnees. Alias assured him that no one was outside the castle, and Ienzo rejected the idea of the missing members having reappeared in other worlds. Dylan and Evan remained in unstable condition. Lee realized what he would have to do. Elsewhere, King Mickey and friends could not help but wonder how Sora and Riku were doing with their exam. Just then, a raven flew into the tower. It was carrying Queen Minnie's tiara and a letter, a message from Maleficent. She had kidnapped Minnie, and if Mickey ever wanted to see her again, he, Donald, and Goofy would have to return to Disney Castle. King Mickey and the others found themselves face to face with Maleficent and Pete, who had Minnie. Maleficent demanded the data for all the worlds. Unable to strike, King Mickey braced himself for the end. But before Maleficent's magic could hit, a blazing chakram knocked it out of thin air. In the commotion, Minnie used some magic of her own to free herself from Pete. Having lost the upper hand, Maleficent and Pete made a hasty retreat like the chicken shits they are. King Mickey turned to thank Axel, but the chakram's red-hair owner corrected him. "My name is Lee. Got it memorized?" Alright, so on Riku's side, Joshua was waiting for Riku. Alright. Yeah, it wouldn't be an episode if I didn't screw up a few times. Joshua was waiting when Riku arrived back in Traverse Town. He asked for help defeating a powerful nightmare capable of summoning other nightmares. Riku learned that the 2 Traverse Towns connected by the portal were not parallel worlds, but rather 2 distinct worlds that only felt the same. In other words, Riku was in a dream. He met up with Beat and Rhyme and let them defend the area while he raced after the powerful nightmare. But no sooner had he caught it than it escaped to the other Traverse Town. Beat and Rhyme were frustrated, but Riku assured them Sora would be able to handle things on the other side. They pledged to meet again one day, and Riku unlocked the sleeping keyhole. And then this is the same thing about what's been going on with Mickey, Axel and everybody else, so we'll skip over that. Alright, so then we made it over to the country of the Musketeers. So on Sora's side of things, much to his surprise, Sora found himself making the acquaintance of Mickey back when he was still in training. In this world, Mickey, Donald, and Goofy were still getting the hang of being Royal Musketeers. Their current mission was to keep the princess's carriage safe. Sora offered to help, but along the way, a giant nightmare attacked and the princess was kidnapped by the Beagle Boys. Mickey, Donald, Goofy, and Sora dashed to the rescue and saved the princess. That night, however, Donald abandoned his post. Now that he knew their own captain had been after the princess all along, he was just too chicken to keep being a musketeer, no matter what Mickey said. Yeah, you believe that? The duck turned into a chicken. But when Captain Pete showed up and nabbed Mickey, Donald had a change of heart. He, Sora, and Goofy set off to rescue their friend, and reminded each other of what made them true musketeers. With Mickey rescued, it was time to go after Pete. Mickey and friends confronted their captain, oblivious to the trap they had walked right into. A huge crate came plummeting down from above. Sora would never reach them in time. But before our heroes could be squashed, the crate mysteriously vanished. Sora knew it was Riku that had saved them. Mickey and the others took care of the princess while Sora dealt with Pete. With the villain out of the way, Mickey and the others were finally dubbed real honest-to-goodness Royal Musketeers. Together they shouted the famous words, "All for one and one for all." Knowing he would always be connected to Riku, Sora unlocked the sleeping keyhole. Alright, Riku's side. Riku spotted Pete going into a building and decided to tail him. Inside, Pete and the Beagle Boys were predictably up to no good. Sensing Mickey, Donald, and Goofy were in danger, Riku stayed on the villains' tails. He rescued Princess Minnie, who had been locked inside a large box. She confirmed that Pete was leading Mickey and friends into a trap. Only a special gadget could save them, and right now it was in the Beagle Boys' clutches. Riku got the gadget back all the same. When Minnie thanked him, she likened him to a musketeer and taught Riku the musketeer's motto, "All for one and one for all." Riku rolled his eyes at first, but then realized the words spoke volumes for he and Sora's friendship. Remembering their connection, he unlocked the sleeping keyhole. Alright, Symphony of Sorcery for Sora. Sora bumped into Mickey again, this time trapped by the darkness emanating from a musical score. To banish the darkness, Mickey explained, he would need a sound idea. Sora jumped into the musical score to look for this mysterious power. During his search, Sora once again encountered the gray-haired youth. "Sleep on, and we will meet again," said the youth, before disappearing without another word. After obtaining a sound idea, Sora used it to try and conduct the music, but his sound idea alone wasn't enough to dispel the darkness. Just then, he and Mickey heard a second strain of music. The two melodies combined into a powerful harmony that drove the darkness away. Sora jumped back into the music one last time, determined to take out the source of the problem, the same nightmare that had escaped from Traverse Town. Once the nightmare was defeated, Mickey was freed from the darkness. He and Sora vowed to meet again, and Sora unlocked the sleeping keyhole. Alright, Symphony of Sorcery for Riku. Riku found his friend Mickey trapped by the darkness emanating from a musical score. To banish the darkness, Mickey explained, he would need a sound idea. Riku agreed to search for this mysterious power and jumped into the musical score. During his search, Riku was confronted by the gray-haired youth who issued a warning. "Your abyss awaits!" Then the stranger disappeared into the shadows, leaving us to deal with Chernobog. After obtaining a sound idea, Riku used it to try to conduct the music, and same thing, wasn't enough. They heard a second strain of music, and the two melodies combined into a powerful harmony that drove the darkness away. At last, Mickey was free. Riku knew it was Sora who had made up the difference. Riku promised Mickey they would meet again and unlock the sleeping keyhole. Alright, World That Never Was, for Sora. Now that Queen Minnie was safe, King Mickey and friends returned to Yensid's tower with a guest. Lee seemed to want something from Yen Sid. With Xehanort's return drawing ever closer, the sorcerer was forced to take drastic measures, and so he agreed to Lee's request. King Mickey and the others were now very worried about Sora and Riku, but Yen Sid insisted that the two were still out of Xehanort's reach. After discussing various possibilities, the king stumbled upon the truth. Having given up his body, Xehanort was taking advantage of the period of time when a version of him had possessed Riku. He had been manipulating events all along. The king set off to rescue Sora and Riku. After unlocking the 7 sleeping keyholes, Sora found himself in the same world where Organization 13 had once held its stronghold. None of it made any sense. Xigbar appeared and revealed that Sora had been lured here before plunging him into a deep sleep. The gray-haired youth explained that it had all begun when he was approached by a man in a brown robe, Ansem. Later, when the Destiny Islands were about to be swallowed by darkness, that same Ansem possessed Riku. Traverse Town. Sora had been here many times before. He saw King Mickey and the others run by. When Sora chased after them, he found Naminé around the corner, except it was not Naminé at all, but some other girl in a black coat. Tears formed on Sora's cheeks for reasons he could not understand. Before he could reach the girl, his vision blurred. He spotted someone in a black coat and called out to the figure, but this time it turned out to be Roxas. Roxas took Sora's hand, and all the hurt he had suffered lanced through Sora's memory. This was alluded to in Recoded when they decided that Sora was the one who could handle everyone's hurt. Next, Sora saw Riku and Kairi, except they weren't Riku and Kairi. They were two strangers. They seemed kind, but they called him Ven. Sora no longer looked like himself. He reached out to take the strangers' hands, but now they were Riku and Kairi again, and they were leaving him behind. He tried to catch them, but his legs were heavy. He could barely move. After a blinding flash, Sora found himself in his own past when he was still little. Then the vision swooped away as though he were being dragged out of it. Had those all been illusions? They were dreams, explained Xigbar. He and Xemnas went on to reveal other surprises, that nobodies could have hearts after all, and that the organization had been established for a greater purpose. Though shaken, Sora put his faith in the Keyblade and stood strong. The gray-haired youth pointed to the sigil on Sora's chest, which had allowed them to keep tabs on him. Sora, he explained, was destined to be the 13th vessel that they needed. Sora called Riku's name as he sank into the dark abyss. A single ray of light chased him down. Right before the darkness enveloped him completely, an aura of light appeared and clad him in armor. Thus protected, his body reclined in the darkness's embrace. Alright, Riku's side of this. Same thing, Minnie was safe. Mickey and Yen Sid realized that Xehanort really had planned all of this because he's just that frickin' epic of a villain. After unlocking the 7 sleeping keyholes, Riku arrived in the world that never was. Riku found a spectral version of Sora trapped in some sort of bubble. He tried to wake his friend, but a personification of Sora's nightmares, the anti-Black Coat Nightmare, approached from behind. He defeated the nightmare and kept calling to Sora, but it was Ansem who responded and dragged Riku into the darkness for a final confrontation. Or is it the final confrontation? Ansem explained that Riku had unknowingly dove into Sora's dreams and become a Dream Eater, but he would be of no help to his friend so long as he kept the darkness inside him in check. Riku agreed, but rather than give in to Ansem and accept the darkness, Riku decided to return it to light once and for all. He drew his Keyblade. After Ansem was defeated, Riku awoke in the real world, but his Dream Eater powers remained. With the help of some spirits, he was able to reach Sora. Okay, starting here are massive, massive spoilers for the end of the game if you have not already seen the final boss and ending. So if you don't want to see it, I will put a timestamp in the video for where the next section starts. Alright, you had your chance. Sora was seated on one of the organization's 13 thrones, but the gray-haired youth knocked Riku away before he could get to his friend. The youth revealed that Organization 13's true purpose was to transfer the heart of Xehanort into 13 worthy vessels. Now Sora was about to become the last of those vessels. As if to drive this point home, 12 other figures materialized and filled the other seats. The youth revealed his identity. He was Xehanort's boyhood form. Just as he was gesturing to the highest seat of them all, King Mickey appeared and stopped time. He tried to rescue Sora, but someone lashed out at the king and knocked him away. Young Xehanort was able to move even when time was stopped. He and Riku fought. No sooner had Riku bested the youth than time started to flow again, and Master Xehanort appeared in the highest seat. He told Riku and King Mickey about the 7 Guardians of Light and the 13 Seekers of Darkness, who were destined to clash and forge the Keyblade. The Keyblade, so I was going to call that the Keyblade just to differentiate it. They were too late. Master Xehanort's heart was snaking its way towards Sora, and Xemnas and Ansem were barring the way. Just then, a blaze of fire stopped Xehanort's heart from reaching Sora. Lee had arrived right in the nick of time. The king and Riku were so shocked they nearly forgot they were in danger. They had a Sora moment, but Donald and Goofy arrived in a flash of light to save the day. Master Xehanort had failed to claim Sora, but he assured all present that the clash between light and darkness was imminent. Then he and the other 12 members of the real Organization 13 dematerialized and returned whence they came. Probably one of Xehanort's most prolific lines in the entire series so far. Destiny can never be, what was it? Destiny can never be avoided, destiny can never be diverted. Something about destiny, basically the way he worded it was, destiny is, destiny is never left to chance, was the one that I'm thinking of. And, I mean, this series proves it over and over again. I mean, Xehanort set everything in motion. He planned all of this so far in advance that it's just ridiculous. Anyway, so we're still in spoiler mode. The mysterious tower, literally tells the final boss and the final ending of the game. So I did put that. The timestamp is there to skip over to the next section if you don't want to hear this yet. Mysterious tower. Only Riku's side for this one. King Mickey warned Yen Sid of Master Xehanort's true motives. They needed to wake Sora up, and Yen Sid said that only one who would unlock the sleeping keyholes possessed that power. And even if that person reached the abyss into which Sora's heart had fallen, they might never return from the darkness. But Riku had heard Sora calling to him, and he knew he must be the one to make the dive back into Sora's slumber. In the abyss, Riku was attacked by a suit of armor clad in deepest darkness. He defeated the armor and freed Sora from its defenses, then watched helplessly as his friend sank into the darkness. Did he do the right thing? Only Sora's Keyblade remained. Riku took it and unlocked the keyhole. Riku's eyes blinked open. He was home, on their island. Figures appeared asking difficult questions. Roxas, another boy who looked like Roxas, a girl with raven hair. He sensed his answers mattered. When his eyes next blinked open, he found himself in the company of Ansem the Wise. Ansem the Wise gave Riku his research data, which he hoped would serve as a clue when Sora or those connected to him were most lost. The love in Sora's heart would be the only way to save them. With that, the true Ansem assured Riku that Sora had awoken. It was time to go home. Riku woke from his dive to hear what sounded like a celebration. Were Sora, Donald, and Goofy having a party? Sora threw his arms around Riku when he saw his friend was safe. Somehow it all seemed very backwards. Riku passed the exam. He had shown the mark of mastery, and so Yen-Sid dubbed him a true Keyblade master. Sora was happy to see his best friend receive such an honor. Lee, however, was still trying to get the knack of summoning his own Keyblade. His what? As if that weren't enough of a shock, suddenly a Keyblade materialized in Lee's hand. He had become a Keyblade wielder. Sora realized he had unfinished business. He opened the sleeping keyhole and ventured through alone. When he woke up in Traverse Town, he looked around for... There they were. A moment later, Sora was surrounded by rowdy but very happy spirits. With a smile, Sora thanked them for all they had done. So this game's story section for the report's kind of interesting because it's the first one to really tell you what actually happens at the end of the game. Kingdom Hearts 1, Rechain of Memories, and 2, even Birth by Sleep did it in the overall timeline, but for the most part, the story sections in these games report have never gone as far to tell you what happens at the end, so I thought that was a little interesting. Alright, so spoilers for the end of the game end here, so if you chose to skip over the story sections for the ending of the game, then the timestamp should bring you to this particular moment somewhere around here. Alright, so for the glossary section, I will read these. So, the Keyblades. A key-shaped weapon forged by man during the age of fairy tales. They were forged right alongside the One Ring of Sauron. Kidding. How cool would that be, though? Any other origins have yet to be revealed. All Keyblades have one of three natures: light, darkness, or heart. These last two are exceptional. Most documented Keyblades, including Sora's and Riku's, are Keyblades of light. The heart must be proven before a Keyblade will appear in its master's hand. No lock can withstand a Keyblade, nor can any non-agent of light. Special keychains allow the Keyblade's appearance and performance to be altered. Now see, I like that. I like that they make it canon that the Keyblade can actually change forms, which is cool because at least the Kingdom Key keychain almost always draws out the Keyblade's true form, which is a nice little canon thing for why in the cutscenes and stuff, when you're in theater mode, the Kingdom Key is always the default one that you see. So, the Keyblade Masters. Guardians of the balance between light and darkness. Through the bequeathing, they choose the next generation of Keyblade wielders, training their bodies and tempering their hearts so that they too might one day be Keyblade Masters. While the word Master might be tossed around, only an existing Keyblade Master can pass on the title and its associated powers. They often elect to test candidates for the Mark of Mastery. Among the Keyblade Masters is one true successor who is tasked with protecting a hallowed ground known as the Land of Departure. Well, Aqua kinda had the deck stacked against her on that one. She didn't really do quite as good a job as she hoped. Master Xehanort. Arguably the most powerful Keyblade Master in history, and a staunch advocate for a world where light and darkness are equal. He's not wrong, everything should exist in balance, he's just causing a lot of problems trying to get there. In his thirst for knowledge, he allowed his heart to succumb to darkness. While attempting to reproduce the Keyblade War, he was thwarted by 3 young Keyblade wielders, and his body was seemingly destroyed. However, Keyblade Masters have the power to remove hearts and transfer them to other vessels. Master Xehanort has leveraged this power of recombination and clashed with Sora under a number of identities. The Keyblade War, an ancient and epic war that lives on in fairy tales. It erupted over a sacred place known as Kingdom Hearts, the source of all light. Keyblade wielders from the legions of light and darkness vied to control Kingdom Hearts, and wiped out all the world's light as a result. Legend has it that the fragmented worlds we know today survived from the last glimmers of light within the hearts of children. The Heartless. living embodiments of the darkness within our hearts, and therefore the darkness that has been in the world since its inception. Although they originate in our hearts, they have no hearts of their own, hence their name. They instinctively hunt for hearts, and survive and reproduce by stealing them. They have no leaders or hierarchy, least of all the chaotic purebloods which arise spontaneously. Emblem heartless, those created artificially by Xehanort's Ansem, behave in much the same way. Kingdom Hearts. According to legend, the source of all true light is known as Kingdom Hearts. So, quote-unquote Ansem from Kingdom Hearts 1 was not wrong when he said Kingdom Hearts is the heart of all worlds. We know Xehanort has created 2 Kingdom Hearts now, both artificially by amassing enough hearts. One was made from the hearts of worlds, and the other from the hearts of people. The Kingdom Hearts made from the hearts of worlds had a door that led to the realm of darkness. Its depths were never fully charted. The Kingdom Hearts made from the hearts of people was believed to have the power to recomplete someone whose heart has been lost. So there's something to consider. This is telling us that both Kingdom Hearts that we've seen so far in Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix and 2 Final Mix, they are not the true Kingdom Hearts. Nobodies. If a strong-hearted person loses or is robbed of that heart, their body and spirit can live on as a nobody. Nobodies have no hearts, but they retain their human memories, which serve as a reservoir from which to draw human emotion. Unlike Heartless, nobodies are hierarchical and choose to be subject to the organization's leadership. Organization 13. When the strongest of heart become nobodies, they retain human form even after their heart is gone. Ansem the Wise had 6 apprentices, the best of whom called himself Xehanort. The real Ansem abandoned his studies of the heart, but Xehanort could not let it stop there. He and the other apprentices betrayed Ansem and cast their hearts away to continue their master's research. Xehanort's nobody took on a new name, Xemnas, so the anagram of Ansem, and formed an organization with the other apprentices' nobodies. Once their numbers grew, they became known as Organization 13, though at one time they had a 14th member. Organization 13's goal was to complete Kingdom Hearts from the hearts of people by defeating Heartless and collecting the hearts they had captured. Sora thwarted their plan, however, destroying the organization's numbers and setting a multitude of captive hearts free. The 7 Princesses. Another name for the Princesses of Heart. The only 7 people in the world whose hearts are pure light. They are the only 7 who have no darkness in their hearts whatsoever. While not necessarily royalty, they are called princesses because they are all female, and the one who brings them together will reign over all worlds, like Maleficent tried to do. The nature of the princesses' power is not entirely clear, but once already their hearts have been stolen to create an entrance to Kingdom Hearts and a so-called Keyblade of Heart. So the Keyblade of Heart was Ansem possessed Riku's Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts 1 that Sora used to free Kairi's heart from his own. As far as I know, that's the only Keyblade of Heart that we've seen in the series so far. Whereas Mickey's Kingdom Hearts Kingdom Key D is the only dark Keyblade we've seen. The Recusant's Sigil. Xemnas, leader of Organization 13, gave new names to all who entered its ranks. Each name was an anagram created from the member's original name, plus the letter X. This X is known as the Recusant's Sigil, and has manifested itself both in obvious and insidious ways throughout Sora's adventures. The Kai Blade. If Kingdom Hearts is a lock, then this blade from the Age of Fairy Tales was the key. It could be argued that without the Kai Blade, the Keyblade War might never have been waged. After all, you cannot possess what you cannot find or unlock. It is clear the blade was the inspiration for human-wrought Keyblades. The letter X can be pronounced both Key or Kai, leading to some confusion, and symbolizes the perfect crossing of light and darkness. The Kai blade can be forged via a high-dimensional clash between those two poles. So that's why Xehanort created Vanitas from Ventus in Birth by Sleep. He wanted to clash pure light against pure darkness as a shortcut to making the Kai blade. And then that plan backfired on him a little bit, and that's what eventually led us here to where we are now. It is believed that the Ricusan sigil also derives from that Kai symbol. Hearts tied to Sora. Alright, so these are spoilers, but only if you haven't been watching or playing the other games and paying attention, so I'm not really going to timestamp for after this one. If you've played all the games up till this one, or you've seen a Let's Play, whether it's mine or somebody else's, then this should not be a spoiler. Not long after Sora was born, his heart connected with that of a boy named Ventus. Ventus's heart had been torn apart by Xehanort making Vanitas, but Sora saved him by sharing a part of his own. Several years later, 3 young Keyblade wielders, Terra, Aqua, and Ventus, found themselves embroiled in a battle with Master Xehanort. In their travels, Master Aqua and Terra both met Sora and his best friend Riku. Sora promised Aqua to keep Riku on the right path, while Riku made a secret promise with Terra. Not long after, Terra became a vessel for Master Xehanort, and Aqua vanished into the realm of darkness. As for Ventus, he shattered his own heart to protect his friends and returned to Sora's heart, where he sleeps to this day. Years later, after Sora got older, he unknowingly hid his friend Kairi's heart inside his own to protect it. When Sora became a Heartless, he also inadvertently gave form to Kairi's nobody, Naminé, while creating his own nobody, Roxas. Another being was also created, a replica named Xion. Xion was formed from Sora's memories of Kairi, and she had the power to copy Roxas. Ultimately, Xion and Naminé realized their place and guided the pieces back where they belonged. Naminé returned to Kairi's heart, and Xion and Roxas returned to Sora's. Many hearts have touched Sora's, and those connections remain, but their stories ended in sadness, a sadness in which they still sleep. So, I can't recall offhand who said it, but it might have even been in Mickey's letter that all of these hearts are connected and the key to all of them is Sora. And then on the beach, on the dark margin, in the end of Birth by Sleep's secret episode, Ansem the Wise did say that a heart like Sora's could be the one to set everything right. Okay, so the secret message is unlocked after, so you'll see it. I'll make a note of it in the next and last episode of exactly how you unlock the secret message, but basically there is a playable dive sequence during the credits, and some of the letters in the credits are in gold. And if you unlock them, if you get them all, it says secret message unlocked. Now the secret message, this was carried over from this game's original release on the 3DS, like 2013, I thought it was, off memory. So the secret message is, the past will be reawakened as a new number in never-before-seen detail. Prepare yourself for the awakening of the next number. So what this was, and they hadn't officially announced it at this point, but this message was basically a big hint that they were going to start remaking all the Kingdom Hearts games and bring them to, at the time, the current gen of consoles. So I think within a year of this game releasing, like maybe a year and a half, was when the first Kingdom Hearts Remix Collection came out, which was 1.5. Then they did 2.5, and then they did this one here that I'm playing, Dream Drop, from 2.8. And prepare yourself for the awakening of the next number. That means, hey, replay all the games and get ready for Kingdom Hearts 3, because, you know, all these games we've done so far are one big interlocked story, and, you know, there's been a lot so far as we get ready to head to the next one. So that's all the glossary stuff. Completion rate, let's just talk about this quickly. So I actually strongly dislike how they did this in the report, because I wish they had done it the way they did in Birth by Sleep, where it actually shows you like the collection, so you can see exactly what you need and what you're missing to get these to 100%. Now, I've scoured around just to double check all this. For combat, combat is filling in the nightmare section of the report. So encountering all the regular Dream Eaters, nightmares, encountering all the rare nightmares from the special portals, making all the Dream Eaters, and stuff like that. The story is a given. Once you've cleared the story, you'll have 100% of the story. The items include, it's supposed to include Keyblades, but I got the 100% before I got all the Keyblades, so I'm not exactly sure what the deal is with that, but I know it does have to do with Keyblades, and it does have to do with, like drop items, training toys, Dream Eater pieces, the Dream Eater recipes, and the commands. Those are all under items. Playtime is irrelevant. That's just, self-explanatory. Okay, so game records. Now, for the link attacks for Sora and Riku, I have put in the Excel spreadsheet what Dream Eaters allow you to use what link attacks. Now, I did not necessarily include every combination because there are quite a bit of them, but I put at least one Dream Eater for each link attack or style, and at least one combination for the dual links and dual styles. So for Sora's link attacks, and the spreadsheet is listed as they appear in the report, so you can easily figure out which one you're missing if you are missing any. So we have Meow Wounce, Roll Call, Whirling Bronco, Fly By Night, Hammer Throw, Flamethrower, Decassation, Poison Dash, Water Blaster, Bubble Blaster, Paw Groove, Equestrian Raid, Swing Fling, Belly Raid, Target Shot, Trap Shot, Cure Sun, Vacuum Ghost, Berserker Bronco, Lucky Dice, Fire Blaster, Poison Rain, Flame Raid, Ice Raid, Tail Groove, Aura Raid, Unwind. Alright, so now we have the dual links. So this is if you use the link attack from both Dream Eaters in your party. There is Whomper Stomp, Comet, Unition Rush, Chaos Snake, Prism Light, Trinity Limit, and Ragnarok. Alright, so for Riku's, and again, same thing, I have them on the spreadsheet as they appear in the report. So Riku's, so Sora's link attacks are like almost the equivalent of, say, a shot lock in Birth by Sleep, whereas Riku's are more like the command styles in Birth by Sleep. So Riku has the Shining Hammer, Fire Raid, Wave Surfer, Thunderstorm, Darkest Fears, and then for the dual link uses, Rising Wing, Blade Charge, and Ghost Drive. So Riku has way less to work with than Sora, but I mean, that's fine, because Riku's command styles are, honestly, I don't know, I like the command styles more than the link attacks, but the link attacks are still really freaking good. Okay, so reality shifts. Now I want to make this very clear. The reality shift must defeat an enemy for it to count. And for the Faith Line one, it does not count in the journal or report if you're just using the Faith Line points. You have to trigger it from an enemy for it to show up in the report. So it just gives you the combined numbers for both characters of how many enemies you defeated. So we have Slingshot from Traverse Town, Faith Line from La Cité des Clochers, Bubble Burst from Prankster's Paradise, Code Break from The Grid, Wonder Comic from Country of the Musketeers, Melody Catcher from Symphony of Sorcery, And then for the world that never was, Sora gets Mirage Split and Riku gets Nightmare's End. That's the one exception to them all being the same. It's still the same concept, just for some reason they felt the need to name it differently, which, I mean, whatever, you know, that's nothing wrong with that. Okay, flow motion. Most of these you should pick up, like, no matter what. The kick dive, shock dive, sliding dive, you're gonna pick these up just along the way. It should, I'm pretty sure it even tells you like how to do different flow motions, but like, you know, one of these is for bouncing off a wall and jumping, and then it gives you the shock dive. The only one that I had to actually go and look for how to get, well, I'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, kick dive, shock dive, sliding dive, buzzsaw, blow off, wheel rush. Wheel rush is the last one. All right, so I don't remember if it was wheel rush or buzzsaw, but you get 2 different flow motion attacks from swinging vertically on a pole or swinging horizontally on a pole. So what I had to do was go back into the grid and get onto one of the horizontal poles and make sure I hit an enemy with that flow motion, because I somehow didn't when I was going through the game. But these are all the flow motion attacks in the game, and this is also an easy way for you to track the report trophy for how many enemies you've defeated with flow motion. Dive mode with Sora, self-explanatory. It's just showing you all the dive mode scores. As I said, the ending it's a playable dive section. That's where you get the letters for the secret message. So, you know, this section won't be complete until that's in there. Dive mode with Riku, same thing. Nothing special. Mini games. Not really a big selection of mini games in this game, but you know, that's okay. We've got Light Cycle, and then the balloon, water barrel, and candy goggle mini games for the Dream Eaters. Link portals. This will tell you how many portals that you've had a victory in. It'll show you friendship portals. I didn't use any. And then once the section's complete, you're just going to have all the special and secret portals listed. Not really anything special to talk about there. Okay, character files. I'm not going to read every character entry. We'll just go through this somewhat quick. So we have Sora. I mean, we all know who Sora is by now, or at least we should. So, regular Sora, grid Sora, Riku, regular, grid Riku, Kairi, younger Kairi, make sure I didn't just miss a Riku model here. Okay, so younger Riku. Okay. So Sora now, grid Sora, young Sora. Even though it's only been a year. Technically, young Sora and Riku would be when they were kids. So, of course, no Kingdom Hearts game's complete without King Mickey making an appearance, since he is essentially the freaking Yoda of Kingdom Hearts. Donald Duck, Goofy, Master Yen Sid, the robed figure, who we came to know as Ansem, or Xehanort's Heartless, as just a heart with no physical form. Lee, or Axel. Axel again. Well, Lee and then Axel. Pete, like modern Pete. Queen Minnie. Maleficent's Raven. The bitch herself. Zigbar, or Braig. Dylan, Evan, Alias, Ienzo, Syx, Roxas, Naminé, Xion, Terra, Aqua, Ventus, the Armored Ventus Nightmare, Ansem the Wise, Master Xehanort, Xemnas, Ansem, Young Xehanort. Alright, so that's our main cast of characters for this game. Then in Traverse Town we met Neku, Joshua, Shiki, Beat, and Rhyme. In La Cité des Clochers, we met Quasimodo, the lovable little scamp, Esmeralda, Hugo, makes me think of Bob's Burgers, Victor, Laverne, Judge Claude Frollo, the stupid piece of shit who deserved exactly what he got, Captain Phoebus, and then I will just do it this way this time, I guess. In Prankster's Paradise, we met the sleeping past version of Pinocchio, Jiminy Cricket, Geppetto. Then this time we got to see the Blue Fairy herself, and of course, the Whale's Tail Monstro himself. In the Grid, Riku met Sam, Sora did not. Sora and Riku both met Korra, and the legendary Kevin Flynn himself. Of course, we all got to meet the guards. They were very, very nice to us. They had a whole lot of hospitality sent our way. And then Clue and Rinsler, or Tron. Country of the Musketeers, we saw a past version of Mickey, a past version of Minnie, past version of Donald, past version of Goofy. Pluto's Pluto. It's not like he actually looks any different, but this is technically a past Pluto. The Beagle Boys, who I gotta say I like the DuckTales version of the Beagle Boys a little bit better. And good old Peg Leg Captain Pete. And then in Symphony of Sorcery, we met another past version of Mickey, Yen Sid's magically enchanted brooms, and of course as Riku, we got the distinct pleasure of running into this winged monstrosity again. Kinda wish they'd let us have a regular fight with him like Kingdom Hearts 1, but you know, it is what it is. Alright, so that's our cast of characters. Now, Dream Eaters. So again, all of the Dream Eaters are in their own tab on the Excel spreadsheet, along with where to get their recipe and what I believe the easiest ingredient combination is to make them with. Okay, so we're gonna go through and we're gonna show the models for all of these. So we have the Meow Wow. Here's the bad one. Oh, here's the Nightmare. Here's the Spirit. And there's the Rare Nightmare palette swap. Tama Sheep, Nightmare, Spirit, Rare Nightmare. Yagi Ram, Nightmare, Spirit, Rare Nightmare. Now, not all of them have a Rare Nightmare, so I'm just going to go through all of them. And if we, it is what it is. If I go back to the Nightmare again, so be it. Komori Bat, Nightmare, Spirit, no Rare Nightmare. Pricklemane, cute little fucker when it ain't trying to kill us. Nightmare, Spirit, Nightmare. Oh, so no Rare Nightmare for that one. Heavy Rep, Nightmare, Spirit, and no Rare Nightmare for this one. Sir Kairu. Oh, Nightmare, Spirit, Nightmare. No Rare Nightmare. The Toxamander. Nightmare, Spirit, no Rare Nightmare. The Fin Fatale. Nightmare, Spirit, no rare nightmare either. Tatsu Steed, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Neko Cat, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Thunderath, nightmare, spirits, rare nightmares. Kuma Panda, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Pegaslick, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Icewind Ace, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Peepsta Who, more like Peeping Tom, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Escar Glow, or SpongeBob let Gary off the leash again, and here's what happened. Nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Kokabuto, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Wheelflower, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Ghostabaki, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Zoliphant, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Jugglepup, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Halberd, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Staggerceps, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Fishbone, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Flabbermeow, nightmare, spirit, and so he doesn't have a rare nightmare palette swap to say, but I mean this kind of is a rare nightmare in itself because he only appears in a couple of the special portals. Cyberyog, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Chef Kairu, now I'm hungry, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Lord Kairu, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. He is a rare nightmare. So Tatsu Blaze, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Electricorn, nightmare, holy shit, that thing looks cool. Spirit, no rare nightmare. Woflower, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Jestabaki, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. E-Glider, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Mimi Bunny, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Drill Sai, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Tyrantorex, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Magic Lapin, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Sarah Terror, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Skelterwild, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare on this one, thankfully. Ducky Goose, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Auralion, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Ryu Dragon, nightmare, spirit, rare nightmare. Probably the most powerful enemy Dream Eater in the game that is not a boss. Drakquak, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Kiba Tiger, nightmare, spirit, no rare nightmare. Meowjesty, spirit only, no nightmare version. Pseudoneku, spirit only, no nightmare. Fruits Cat, spirit only, no nightmare. Ursa Circus, spirit only, no nightmare. Cab Cannon, spirit only, no nightmare. R&R Seal, spirit only, no nightmare. Katanuki, spirit only, no nightmare. Beetalike, spirit only, no nightmare. Tubgwin Ace, spirit only, no nightmare. Alright, so now, Spelican, nightmare only. Camantis, piece of shit, nightmare only. Charclobster, nightmare only. Chillclobster, nightmare only. Hawkamonkey, Hawkamonkey brute form, and Hawkamonkey rare form. Hawkamonkey mage form. Now, you know what? They probably could have done these as two separate entries instead of saying rare nightmare, because as bosses they're both rare nightmares. But I mean, I guess now I'm just being nitpicky. So, all right. Holy Moly, nightmare only. Wargoyle, Riku's version where he's a flying instrument of death and destruction, and Sora's version where he's a grounded force of death and destruction. Brawlamari, Queen Buzzerfly, the Anti-Black Coat Nightmare, and that's all the Dream Eaters. So just to reiterate, any of these Dream Eaters or Nightmares that have a rare Nightmare palette swap, you will encounter those over the course of completing the special portals. And if you really want to, you can take your spirits and paint them whatever color you want to. So, alright, so that's all the Dream Eaters tab. Treasures are a given. Okay, the Sora and Riku. We picked up every single one of these treasure chests during the Let's Play. So, I'm not really going to do a full-on treasure chest guide. Not for this game, anyway. Alright, Trophy Shelf. In the clear, proof you have finished the story. Badge of Pride, proof you have finished the story in Proud or Critical. We've actually done both. Stop Drop Roller, proof you have racked up 2,000 drop points. That's cumulative throughout the game. King of Rush, proof you have taken first place in every Flick Rush Cup. Key Swinger, proof you've taken out 2,500 Dream Eaters. In the Money, proof you've amassed 5,000 money, and that is, I believe that is cumulative. I don't think you actually have to have 5,000 money in your possession to unlock that. Dream Pleaser, proof that you have maxed out every Spirit's affinity level. Now, just to be clear, this does not mean max out the affinity of every single Dream Eater in your collection. It just means that you have to make at least one of each Dream Eater species and max out their affinity. You need to take good care of your Pokemon. Alright, Portal Champ, proof you have completed every special and secret portal. Daring Diver, proof you have scored more than 7,500,000 points in dive mode. Once you get the Dive Wing Keyblade with both Sora and Riku, this should be done. Motion Slickness. Motion Slickness. Proof you have defeated 1,000 enemies while in flow motion. Like I said, if you haven't got this one yet, use the flow motion tab in Game Records and you can tally up how many enemies you've done and how many more you need. Treasure Seeker, proof you have found every last treasure. This definitely, you've got to find every treasure chest with both Sora and Riku to get that one. Spirit Guide, proof you have obtained at least one of every spirit. Critical Praise, proof you have finished the story in critical mode. This one you have to do critical mode for. Reality Shifter, proof you have defeated 50 enemies using Reality Shift. It is incredibly unlikely that you will not get this just playing through the game. But if you don't, same thing. You can go into the Reality Shift tab in Game Records and see how many enemies that you've annihilated with them. Pro Linker. Proof you have linked with your spirits at least 50 times. Might have to farm that one out, but I mean, just if you did the same thing I did and went through every Dream Eater's full ability link board, this should be done just from doing that. Stat Builder. Proof you have maxed out every stat boosting ability. Now there is I do have it here, one second. So this is listed in the Excel spreadsheet, but for this trophy, and again, we're only covering in-game trophies, not like PSN or Xbox or Epic Games achievements or anything like that. So to get this report trophy, you must have a maxed out party, so like their ability link boards need to be completed, secret paths and all, with a Magic Lapin, Tyrantorex, and Skelter Wild. And then you actually do need to go into the ability menu to see that they're all checked off, and then back out, and then this should show up as unlocked in the report. Ribbit Reaper, proof you've defeated Lord Kairu. He appears in various places in the game for Sora and Riku. If you start the fight with him in one world and he gets away, it's almost impossible you're gonna miss him wherever he goes next. I mean, he's not really hiding, and if he is, he's hiding in plain sight. So, Keyblade Conqueror. Proof you have obtained every Keyblade, and I believe you need to do this with both Sora and Riku for this to unlock. Okay, so that is all of our in-game report stuff. Now, the only other thing we're going to do is go through and just look at all the items. So anything under the items tab. So for Keyblades, most of the Keyblades are the same. There is one exception. So for Sora, we start off with there's two exceptions. For Sora, we start off with the Kingdom Key. We get the Skull Noise from Traverse Town, Guardian Bell from La Cité des Clochers, Ferris Gear from Prankster's Paradise, Dual Disc from the Grid, Knockout Punch from the Return to Traverse Town, All for One from Country of the Musketeers, Counterpoint from Symphony of Sorcery, Sweet Dreams is for clearing the last Flick Rush Cup, but I believe you do need to be rank 20 as well to get it. Dive Wing is for A ranking all the dives. End of Pain is for completing all the special portals. Unbound is for completing all the secret portals. And Ultima Weapon is the prize for defeating Jackass Julius. Okay, so I will have to... You know what? We're gonna drop to Riku real quick, just because I don't want to do this. I want to keep this together. So the reason I am dropping to Riku right now in the middle of this report and review is because there are two instances where Sora and Riku have different Keyblades, and I do want to show them all together. Everything else is the same. Okay, so for Riku's Keyblades, we start off with the Way to the Dawn, the Keyblade that he received in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. Skull Noise is still from Traverse Town. Guardian Bell is still from La Cité des Clochers. From Prankster's Paradise, Riku gets the Ocean's Rage, which is more themed after Monstro, where the, Ferris Gear for Sora was based on the amusement park. Riku still gets Dual Disc from the Grid, Knockout Punch from Traverse Town Revisited, All for One from Country of the Musketeers, Counterpoint for Symphony of Sorcery, Sweet Dreams for Flick Rush completion, Dive Wing for A ranking all the dives, End of Pain for special portals, Unbound for secret portals, and Ultima Weapon for Julius. Now, as far as the counterpoint, Sweet Dreams, Dive Wing, End of Pain, Ultima, and Unbound go, you do have to meet those requirements with Sora to get Sora's Keyblade, and again with Riku to get Riku's Keyblade. They don't carry over. You don't get to double dip. Okay. Now, so the dream pieces, there is a tab in the spreadsheet for the easiest way to get all of these. So I'm not going to go crazy listing them off right now. But this is the complete collection of dream pieces. We have Fleeting Figment, Fleeting Fancy, and Fleeting Fantasy. Lofty Figment, Lofty Fancy, and Lofty Fantasy. Rampant Figment, Rampant Fancy, and Rampant Fantasy. Dulcet Figment, Dulcet Fancy, and Dulcet Fantasy. And then we have Malleable, which only comes in Fantasy. Prickly, which only comes in Fantasy. Wild, which only comes in Fantasy. Epic, which only comes in Fantasy. Charming, which only comes in Fantasy. Brilliant, which only comes in Fantasy. Intrepid Figment, Intrepid Fancy, Intrepid Fantasy. Savage Fantasy, Fantasy only. Noble Figment, Noble Fancy, Noble Fantasy. Grim Figment, Grim Fancy, and Grim Fantasy. Vibrant Figment, Vibrant Fancy, Vibrant Fantasy. Troubling Figment, Troubling Fancy, Troubling Fantasy. Wondrous Figment, Wondrous Fancy, and Wondrous Fantasy. Now, if you're looking at these and thinking, wow, those kind of look like synthesis materials, these are this game's synthesis materials. So we don't synthesize like equipment and items. We synthesize cute, cuddly little critters to help keep us safe. Alright, so if we go into the stock, so I guess I should have just done this from this tab. No, too late now. Anyway, so we already went over the dream pieces and the Keyblades. So the Dream Eater recipes, as I said, are also covered in the spreadsheet. So the complete set of recipes is Meow Wow, Tama Sheep, Yagi Ram, Kamori Bat. The picture's all the same, so I'll just list them off. Meow Wow, Tama Sheep, Yagi Ram, Kamori Bat, Pricklemane, Heavy Rep, Sir Kairu, Toxamander, Fin Fatale, Tatsu Steed, Neko Cat, Thunderaf, Kuma Panda, Pegaslick, Icewind Ace, Peepsta Who, Eskar Glow, Kokabuto, Wheelflower, Ghostabaki, Zolifant, Jugglepop, Halberd, Staggerceps, Fishbone, Flabber Meow, Cyberyog, Chef Kairu, Lord Kairu, Tatsu Blaze, Electric Horn, Wowflower, Jestabaki, E-Glider, Mimi Bunny, Drillsai, Tyranto Rex, Magic Lapin, Sarah Terror, Skelter Wild, Ducky Goose, Aura Lion, Ryu Dragon, Drakquak, Kiba Tiger, Meowjesty, Pseudo Neku, Fruits Cat, Ursa Circus, Cab Cannon, R&R Seal, Katanuki, Beetle-like, Tubgwin Ace, and then we got the key item stage gadget from Riku's part of Country of the Musketeers. So we already went over Keyblades. Of course, here it shows them all. Oh no, it doesn't. Okay. We just went over the dream pieces, so now we have the training toys. So we have the confetti candy. So we did kind of go over this when we did the Dream Eaters 102, but here we are with just the regular full list. So we have confetti candy, shield cookie, block it chocolate, an ice dream cone, and then the royal cake. Then we have the level 2 versions of confetti candy, shield cookie, block it chocolate, and ice dream cone. And then the level 3 versions of confetti candy, Shield Cookie, Block It Chocolate, and Ice Dream Cone. Then the balloon for the balloon minigame, the candy goggles for that minigame, and the water barrel for that minigame. And then we just have like the different color paints that you can use to change the color palette on your Dream Eaters. So you can pick from red, blue, green, yellow, white, black, purple, or sky blue. Oh, hold on, let's go through them again real quick because I didn't realize I actually showed the different colors. So there's the red, there's the blue, there's the green, there's the yellow, there's the white, there's the black, there's the purple, and the sky blue, which I absolutely love. So yeah, this is just kind of, environmental friendly hair dye and spray for your Dream Eaters. Okay, now the last thing we're going to go over are the commands. So obviously I have multiple of a lot of these commands, so I'm just going to list them off. Now again, these are all covered as to where you can get them in the spreadsheet. And what I also did was, and I believe I mentioned this, I may have mentioned this in the Dream Eater Ology 102 episode. So what I did was, when you look at the Excel spreadsheet, if you're missing a command, if you get the command from a Dream Eater, there is like a couple of rare instances where the command is locked behind a disposition path. So I have color coding for each disposition path, because if you remember, the Dream Eaters have a purple, blue, green, and yellow disposition. So if there's a command that's locked behind the purple disposition, that cell is shaded with a purple background, so you know exactly how to get to it. And then I do have the lock paths tab that shows which Dream Eaters have lock paths and what they are. And then it also has the key of which item, well, which treat will open up said path. Alright, so our complete list of deck commands and items. We have Quick Blitz. Oh, hold on. We have Quick Blitz, Blizzard Edge, Dark Break, Slot Edge, a ton of blitzes, a few meteor crashes, Spark Dive, Poison Dive, Drain Dive, Sliding Dash, Thunder Dash, Sonic Blade, Dark Aura. Now, some of these commands are Sora only and some are Riku only. I'm just going through the whole list. Zantetsuken, Strike Raid, Spark Raid, Circle Raid, Aerial Slam, Ars Arcanum, Dark Splicer, Gravity Strike, Confusing Strike, Tornado Strike, Prism Windmill, Time Storm, Fire Windmill, Icebreaker, Shadow Breaker, Magnet Spiral, Salvation, Limit Storm, Collision Magnet, Sacrifice, Break Time. Alright, that's it for the attack commands. So there were a lot of attack commands in here that I didn't really use because I just had more effective commands on time. But I mean, play around with the commands, see what they all do. So, some of them aren't necessarily effective, but they're very flashy. They look cool, so worth checking out. All right, so for magic commands, we've got Fire, Fyra, and Fyraga. Then we have Dark Fyraga, Fyraga Burst, and Mega Flare. And then for the Ice family, we have Blizzard, Blizzara, and Blizzaga. And then Icicle Splitter, Deep Freeze, Ice Barrage. Then in the Sparky family, we have Thunder, Thundara, and Thundaga. Triple Plasma, and that's it. We've got your Cure, Curaga, Cura, and Curaga. Asuna. Zero Gravity, 0 Gravira, 0 Graviga, and 0 Graviza. We actually get a Za spell in this game. We've got Balloon, Balloon Ra, and Balloon Ga, Spark, Spark Ra, and Spark Ga. We've got Faith, Tornado, Meteor, Mini, Blackout, Time Bomb, Confuse, Bind, Poison, Slow, Sleep, Sleep Ra, Sleep Ga, and then Stop. Oh, and Vanish. Now, Vanish, I will just make a note of this. A lot of these commands you can get from more than just the Dream Eaters. You can buy them in the shop. The Vanish magic command in particular, you must get from the Ghost Abaki only, and it is hidden behind the green disposition path. And actually, the Stop spell, you have to get it from the chest in the green room and country of the Musketeers with Riku, or you've got to spend medals on it in the Flick Rush shop to buy it. And since we have to get all the chests anyway, I'd say grab that one because you want to keep the medals for like recipes and stuff. Anyway, those are all of the magic commands. So for items, we get Potion, High Potion, Mega Potion, Drop Me Not, Drop Me Never, Panacea, Elixir, Mega Elixir, Dream Candy. So a lot of the items, let's see, so the Potion, High Potion, Mega Potion, Drop Me Not, and the Panacea can be bought from the item shop. The Elixir can be bought from the item shop during Bargain Flurry only. The Drop Me Nevers, Mega Elixirs, and Dream Candies can only be purchased from the Flick Rush Metal Shop, but there are enemies that drop them too. I mean, there's enemies that drop all these items, but that information is not included because I do consider just getting them from the shop to be easier. And I mean, you don't really need to stock up on Mega Elixirs or Drop Me Nevers because you can just get the Drop Me Nots and the Elixirs. Okay, movement commands. Jump, high jump, dodge roll, slide roll, dark roll. So dodge roll is the basic. Slide roll is Sora's advanced, dark roll is Riku's advanced. Air slide basic, sonic impact basic, double impact, glide and super glide are for Sora only, and then shadow slide and double flight are for Riku only. For block commands, we've got your regular block, wake up block, link block, only Sora's allowed to use that one, sliding block, and then dark barrier, only Riku's allowed to use. For our reprisal abilities, we have Sora's counter rush, Riku's counter aura. Riku also gets access to the shadow strike. Sora gets payback raid, Riku gets payback blast. They both get aerial recovery. Sora only gets the steep climb, Riku only gets the rapid descent. And then sliding sidewinder is Sora only, and sliding crescent is Riku only. And then we have the flow motion commands: pole spin, pole swing, rail slide, kick dive, buzzsaw, blow off, wheel rush, sliding dive, shock dive. I'm not sure why they even included these as commands, because they're all equipped the whole game anyway, but I mean, whatever. Again, that's being nitpicky. It's a weird decision to do it that way, but it is what it is. Okay, so I mean, we've covered the items, we've covered the command deck, we've covered everything there is to cover, everything that you should have in a 100% completed game. The only other thing that we can do is let's just take a look through our spirits real quick. So I have in Riku's party right now, so they're going to show up here. You know what? I guess we really don't even need to do this. We've already gone over all the Dream Eaters and what they look like. So, real quick before we end this episode. So this is it. That is the 100% inventory and full report coverage. So here's what happens now. The next episode is the final episode of our Let's Play Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance HD. So real quick though, just in case, I mean, probably everybody, I know everybody who's played the game knows this. Just in case you did not watch the first playthrough and you're joining in now, if you want to fight the final boss again, there's a little bit of a trick to it. So, oh, and if you haven't even seen the final boss yet, so if you come to the world that never was as Riku first, or if you've already beaten the final boss of the game once, when you are here in Memory's Skyscraper, if you have not completed Sora's World That Never Was episode yet, this is what happens when you try to go fight the final boss.
So sleepy.
So I'm actually pretty sure that I may have maybe I did show that in the World That Never Was episode, but just in case I didn't, I'm just showing you now. So when you're doing your playthrough before you've beaten the final boss once, if you try to enter the final boss area as Riku, you get put to sleep and you're automatically dropped to Sora. Now, if you have already beaten the game once and you want to fight the final bosses again, then you're still going to get this same screen until you go fight Sora's final boss again and go through the cutscenes. So basically, once you have the game clear save with the crown symbol, anytime you want to refight Riku's final boss for the game, you have to go and refight Sora's final boss first, otherwise you get this. Okay, so here we are. We're back with Sora. So this episode is done. We have, as I've said, we fully covered everything there is to cover in the game. The Excel spreadsheet, I did put a little bit of time into it to organize it as best as I possibly could. So if you do not have the game at 100% yet, go ahead and, if you're using this, if you are using this Let's Play as a walkthrough, check out the spreadsheet. See what you're missing. If you're watching this for entertainment purposes, feel free to still check out the Excel spreadsheet, because think it might be a little bit more organized than some of the other guides and checklists that are out there. Not to toot my own horn, but that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so the only thing that I am going to do off screen is I am going to go fight Xemnas again with Sora. And that will set us up to come back for our last episode. We'll fight the final boss and watch the ending one more time, and that'll be it. As always, my friends, I thank you all for watching. I know this was another one of those episodes where there wasn't a whole lot of action, but it's something I want to do for each game. I want to go through and do the review, just because these games do have a little bit of stuff in them to keep track of, and I like to do this little wind down and review and all that before we bring it to an end. So next episode, last boss, end of the game again, action, some decent cutscenes, and until then, may your heart be your guiding key.